mature audience and may contain detailed descriptions of violence. Discretion is advised.
In the middle of the 12th century, a plague swept through Cadian, decimating the population for 3 long years. Survivors fled to the southwest, where they became the Tarusians. Forgiven for their sins under the grace of the Maker, they abandoned the old ways and re-established themselves under the teachings of the Oarden. Cadian, and its forgotten past, has since been a place which invokes fear in the heart of the Tarusians, who have avoided it ever since. The Cadian Death, the ancient writing of Allura Aetheri. Date: 2nd day of Equus in the year 11,654. Time: 6:30 a.m. Party status: Lunis, 6 hit points. Vali, 7 hit points. Yzalda, 2 hit points. Varian, 5 hit points. Tanrin, 6 hit points. Our heroes have returned to the jetty in the southeastern corner of Cadian. A small Tarusian ship is docked on the shore. A sole survivor is standing on deck. She has a crooked posture and a long dark braid. She is an Oarden magic user. The rest of the crew have been eaten alive by locusts. Varian asks her why she is here. He is attempting to subdue her. "I am Jainva," she says, "and I find myself in hard times. But here is the land of opportunity. There is knowledge and power here."
"So you created a prophecy about plague to keep Tarusians away?"
Varian asks. A dense mist rises off the lake and through the loose planks of the jetty, shrouding the party and the Tarusian ship in mist. "Tarusians and all demi-human races," she replies. "But we just do as we are instructed." Realizing that time is of the essence and Jainva is being frantic, Varian makes his offer.
"Well, it seems, Jainva, that you're in need of a crew. You won't cross that lake easily without one. Stay, and you'll end up like them."
He gestures to the littered corpses.
"Stripped of almost every scrap of your flesh."
To handle this negotiation, I will roll on the NPC reaction table given in the Men and Magic booklet and adjust for Varian's high charisma. Such negotiations are only possible when 2 characters are the same basic alignment. In this case, both the Varian and Jainva are lawful. They just have different views. Jainva is uncertain, which makes sense. The characters have 2 dwarves and a halfling in their party.
"If you're worried about them,"
Varian says, gesturing to the demi-humans,
"they're just here for the spoils. Once we cross the lake, we will go our separate ways and leave you in peace. Or you can stay here and share the same fate as your friends."
Jainva glances at the remains of her former crew, some of which were not just her associates. They were her friends. Ravaged and spoiled, they all look the same now, skeletal beings alike in death. "Let the mist swallow them up, so I do not have to look upon them anymore," Jainva thought. Whether a trick of the imagination or delirium brought on by the eerie surroundings, Vali hears the disembodied voices of the dead called through the mist.
"Join us,"
they say, and she thinks of her cousin Bear. Is she also reduced to a small voice calling wildly from the oblivion? She shakes away the thought. Considering the situation, Varian's offer to Jainva is quite enticing. I will roll again in the reaction chart, but with a +2 bonus. I accept. that, says Jayinva, and with that, the party boards the ghostly vessel with armour and draft horses intact, ready to sail across the unearthly mist towards the strange tower, which rises above it, as if reaching desperately towards the heavens and away from the hell that lies beneath. Including their preparations, the party makes it to the island tower in about a turn. Once across, the party needs somewhere to keep the horses. They will never make it up the jagged stairway, which leans towards the tower entrance like the colossal jawbone of some ancient beast that time has spared our memories with forgetfulness. They could build a ramp and scaffolding. The Tarusian ship has tools to build and cut, but no sufficient supply of wood. The island has no substantial wooded areas, but there is a scattering of distorted trees. With 11 people, they should be able to build a scaffolding and ramp, but this will take time, and there is a risk of locust swarms. I will rule that the construction will take a full day of labour to complete. The characters will make several bonfires from scrap wood to keep locusts away. However, this does not ensure that they are not at risk of other dangers. I will treat this day as a day in the wilderness and roll for the possibility of an encounter treating the terrain as woods. The day passes by without danger. For now, the thick dark mist is undisturbed, save for the banging of hammers and cutting of saws. The party completes the construction and rests their weary bones for the night. They rise not long after dawn on the third day of Equus. A cold dampness has seeped through to their bones. They move sluggishly as they ready themselves for the return to the tower and its mysteries. Before long, they find themselves back in the entrance hall. Astonishingly, the floor tiles have changed. They are now a maddening, almost indescribable pattern of alternating hexagons grouped in threes. The hexagons are a deep red, surrounded by orange and black lines. The effect is nauseating. The company dismounts from the draft horses, which they will keep on reins as they explore on foot. Movement speed for the party will be 120 feet per turn as they move throughout the tower. Varley uses an iron spike to wedge open the door. She manages to do this without too much trouble. A moment later, Varley becomes aware of the magical elven spear strapped across her back. She decides against revealing its use in front of Jayinva. The whole party is also careful not to reveal the location of the dead Oarden magic user they left behind. They will try to convince Jayinva to take the right door, and they will go left, although there still remains the risk of a locust swarm in that direction. First, I will need to determine the initial loyalty of Jayinva. Varian gets a +2 to the roll for his high charisma. Jayinva has +1 on her morale dice. In OD&D, when performing a morale check, there are 2 separate systems which can be used. One is a system of rolling 2d6 and checking this against the morale score given for a particular creature or character type. This system is explained in Chainmail. The other system is rolling on the reaction chart given in the Men and Magic booklet. For some character types, a morale score is not given, so it would make sense to use the reaction chart instead. In this instance, I am going to roll on the reaction chart to see how Jayinva will react. I will adjust for charisma and loyalty base. Jayinva is enthusiastic about this proposal and is more than happy to leave the party behind and go her own way. In the short time she has spent with them, she doesn't believe they would knowingly send her into a death trap and is eager to disassociate from the demi-humans. She takes her leave and is now no longer in the party. The constant use of torches is already rendering the party's supply low, but they keep them burning as they begin their exploration anew. The party moves towards the west door and will attempt to force it open, but first, Lunis presses an ear to the door and listens. There is no buzzing of a locust swarm waiting for victims to devour. There is only silence, so he is satisfied that the coast is clear. Yzalda inserts the heavy bronze key into the lock and turns it. 3 of the men-at-arms, which includes 2 archers and the heavy-foot dwarf, will force the unlocked door. Everyone else prepares themselves for unexpected danger. Yzalda unlocks the door, then the men-at-arms push hard, but the door does not shift. They are instructed to keep trying. On the second attempt, the door begins to budge, but it takes a great effort to push it open. A wandering monster check will now be made. An encounter is indicated. The door swings open, and the party come face to face with an Oarden magic user, a 7th level enchanter to be exact, wearing the identifiable long yellow robe and embroidered symbols. Stay tuned to find out what happens next. I just want to take the opportunity to welcome you to this special Halloween episode and my contribution to OSR October. You might have noticed things have gotten just a little bit spookier. Just to be clear, it's not Halloween or its equivalent in the game world. That would be Simonios, also known as Seedfall. In the game, it's currently the month of Equus, also known as Horse Time, which is roughly the equivalent of June. However, there is something particularly strange in the air, perhaps a multiversal influence that has thinned the fabric between the realm of life and the realm of death. To celebrate this fantastic season, as well as reaching 3,000 YouTube subscribers, I've organised a competition for friends of the show. If you're a viewer, then that's you. If you've listened to my Radiant Light podcast, also available on this channel, then you'll already be aware. However, I'll cover it again here. You're formally invited to contribute to the world of my Radiant Light campaign and have one of your creations featured on the show. If you don't know, Radiant Light is my solo OD&D campaign. For the next installment of the series, I would like you to design a spooky Halloween-themed market stall for my characters to visit at the Din Sing Night Market. Alongside this, the stall should come complete with a write-up of a creepy NPC who will be the vendor of the stall. To submit your creation, all you have to do is either visit my YouTube community page at youtube.com/c/solo dungeon crawler/community, where I have posted up details of the competition. You can enter by leaving a comment on the post containing the details of your entry. Alternatively, you can send me a private message on Twitter at crawlersolo. All I'm looking for is a write-up describing the market stall and the stall's vendor, and I will pick one to be featured on the show. If you have any questions, then feel free to get in touch via the YouTube community post or on Twitter. I'll be getting around to recording this episode as soon as I can, but there's still time to contribute with an entry. I look forward to it. But in the meantime, back to the game. The party made their way through the entrance hall of the strange leaning tower on a mysterious island in the middle of Lake Llewellyn. Their temporary Oarden companion, Jainva, went her own way, through a door at the east end of the entrance hall. The party approached the east door and forced it open, coming face to face with an OD&D enchanter. Is the party taken by surprise? Yes, they are all surprised. One rule I have overlooked until now is that in OD&D there is a 25% chance that any character surprised by a monster will drop something. From this moment forward, these checks will be made. Yzelda drops her dagger and Varley drops her battle axe. The magic user is 30 feet away. She has missing fingers on her hands and her skin has been powdered to a pale blue, giving her the complexion of an ethereal elemental spirit as opposed to a human being. The monster reaction table will decide how the OD&D enchanter will react to the characters. The initial reaction is positive. The enchanter begins to laugh, almost musically. It is not a maniacal laugh, but sounds like an authentic expression of joy. Assuredly, an unfamiliar emotion in this place. "I will not harm you," she says. "This place has shown me things I never thought possible. You are not my enemy. Go in peace." In the next moment, the enchanter has gone. She simply vanished into thin air. Varley and Yzelda retrieve their weapons, then the party enters a room beyond the door. Varley props it open with an iron spike. Unfortunately, the door does not hold, and it slams shut behind them. They move to the top of the flight of stairs, which descend down into the web of strange corridors and chambers below the tower. The skeletal remains of a dead OD&D magic user lay here. She was eaten alive by the same locusts she tried to unleash on the party on their previous visit here. The body still adorns an angular violet helm and a heavy silver ring worn on a hand clutching a magic wand. The items were not retrieved by the OD&D enchanter before she disappeared. Varian takes the wand as Yzelda already carries her own. She has the wand of negation. Varian now has the wand of enemy detection. For the ring, I will toss a coin. Heads, Varian, and tails, Yzelda. Whoever doesn't have the ring will have the helm. Varian takes the silver ring. It is a ring of 3 wishes. Yzelda takes the helm, which is the helm of reading magic and languages. I just want to say to the viewers at this point, in this campaign, when magical items are discovered, it will be assumed in most cases that the magic user who discovers them can identify them accurately. The OD&D rulebooks are silent on this subject, so it would not make sense to add complexity where there is none. In this game, the magic users are assumed to be well-schooled individuals who possess enough knowledge to identify most of these items simply by their appearance, as seen illustrated in books or taught directly by other magic users. There doesn't appear to be anything else of interest in the room. The party will descend the stairs. As before, the stairway continues for some time in its frantic twisting and turning fashion, through narrow passages down, and sometimes up. This time, there is no restorative feeling of tranquility. Whatever magic was here has faded away or been dispelled. The heavy footfall of the horses reverberates abrasively through the silence. The horses' necks brace upward and their nostrils flare with fear of the place. After about a turn, the characters find themselves once again in the deep depths below the tower. They are back in the large 40-foot by 40-foot square room with doors on either side and another on the opposite wall. The sickly sweet smell of smoked frogs and herbs is still prominent from the small cauldron in the fireplace on the eastern wall. The room is still cluttered with various containers, including 2 large sacks and a small chest containing the remains of treasure. The party loads the saddlebags with as much as they can. The OD&D books don't give a figure to indicate how much weight a typical saddlebag can hold. The equipment section of the Men and Magic booklet also lists them as saddlebags as opposed to a single bag. I'll rule that they'll hold a good 800 coins in weight. The party retrieves a total of 2,000 silver pieces. They leave the copper pieces where they are, hoping to fill their bag space with something more valuable. And what do we have here? They hear a voice echo throughout the room. It's another OD&D magic user. The party is surprised by this sudden appearance. The magic user is only 20 feet away. He is uncertain. The fugitives hiding out in Cadian. How interesting, the man says curiously. Where is Solaris? She's dead, answers Yzelda. A pity. She was a good student. Now prepare to join her. The party realizes who this man is. His name is Varden, and he is the OD&D magic user who is found to be practicing chaotic magic in secret. He made a bargain with the guild. In an effort to save himself, he gave up Solaris, his secret elven student, who was very swiftly arrested and locked away with Varley and Cade before they all escaped and fled here, to Cadian. The party is unable to evade because the distance is too short. At this point, I would like to discuss how initiative works in OD&D, as I have recently had a slight revelation in this area. Basing the current situation on the rules given in Chainmail for the man-to-man combat system, it would appear that there is no need to roll initiative here, as Varden is clearly the attacker, having moved into the space and deciding to initiate combat. This may seem confusing in comparison to later editions of D&D, but in OD&D, in the man-to-man combat system, the first blow is always struck by the attacker. Therefore, based on these rules, this is how I would expect to handle the situation. However, in the summer of 1975, Gary Gygax published some brief rules clarifications in the Strategic Review Volume 2. These rules state, initiative is always checked. Surprise naturally allows the first attack in many cases. Initiative thereafter is simply a matter of rolling 2 dice, assuming that is the number of combatants, with the highest score gaining first attack that round. Dice scores are adjusted for dexterity, and so on. I think it's fairly clear from this statement that initiative should be checked to decide who attacks first, and additionally, the type of initiative system used can be individual initiative, otherwise there is no allowance for a dexterity adjustment. The combat example given in Strategic Review does indicate a dexterity adjustment is optional, so group initiative can be used if desired. The combat example also indicates that the same type of monster should be grouped together, with only 1 dice rolled for this whole group. For simplicity, I will continue to employ the group initiative. However, there may be situations where I will opt for an individual if I feel it is required. If Varden wins the initiative, then being a magic user he is likely to want to cast a spell, and the rules for spellcasting in OD&D are pretty unclear. The first clue in Chainmail states, in order to cast and maintain any spell, the spellcaster must be both stationary and undisturbed by attack upon his person. The obvious missing piece of information here is how long does it take to cast a spell? Can it even be done in melee? Another clue is the information given in the Men and Magic booklet regarding dexterity, which indicates it will influence the speed with actions such as getting off a spell. I can easily make a roll of 3d6 to determine Varden's dexterity score. A 4 is pretty bad. It would not seem likely that Varden will be able to cast a spell before he is attacked. A further clue in regard to getting off a spell is provided in Men and Magic, which states that spell complexity is a somewhat subjective determination on the part of your authors. Rules for spell complexity are provided as an optional mechanic in Chainmail. However, to use these rules in OD&D, the table would need to be adapted to cover all levels of magic user, and a spell complexity number would need to be decided for each spell listed in Men and Magic. I will cross this bridge if and when it comes to it. Being an intelligent creature, it's not likely Varden would pick a fight with a party of 9 unless he had some trick up his sleeve. To find out what that might be, you'll have to wait until next time. You have been watching my solo OD&D campaign. I sincerely hope you have enjoyed this episode. Stick around, and after a short interval, I will read out some listener correspondence. If you would like to send a small donation to show your appreciation and help support this show so it can continue to grow and expand, then please visit paypal.me/TomDND. Alternatively, if you would like to make a small regular contribution, then please visit the members section of this channel. In this episode, I'd like to thank Raphael, Johannes, Mark and Vinny for their kind donations between July and August. I'd also like to welcome John, Vinny and RPGs and More as new members. Thank you so much. If you have enjoyed this episode, please give this video a like. Feel free to add a comment to let me know your thoughts. If you don't want to miss a future video, then make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon to receive a notification when I upload a new one. Another way you can support this show is by sharing it with your friends or followers on social media. Recommendations go a long way in bringing in new listeners and ensuring the continuation of the show. Now for some listener correspondence. Matthew left the following comment on YouTube. I really like how many of the elements of the old game have been written out in more recent editions, but for the story of the campaign, these eliminated elements of the game are so important. The importance of keeping time, morale for monsters, reactions for NPCs, acquiring and paying hirelings, rations, among other rules you are using. Nothing is rushed through, and this breathes tension and realism into the game. Great job. Thanks, Matthew. This is exactly why I find OD&D so great for solo play. There are so many procedures in the rules to keep the game moving. I think all of these mechanics really inform solo play, so you usually know what the next step is to take in order to move the story forward. That's why I prefer to always consult the rules before consulting a third-party oracle. BAG left the following comment on YouTube regarding episode 8 of this campaign. Just playing through this, and got to this episode, and I have to say, for whatever reason, the audio quality seems a lot worse off. It's far more muffled and difficult to hear. Thanks though for the well-narrated adventure. A belated apology if the audio wasn't great for you. While working on that episode, I actually ran into some technical difficulties with the audio, which I was trying to improve. I've bitten the bullet since and got myself a new microphone, so hopefully the audio in this episode and going forward is much improved. Please let me know if there are any further issues. I'm still ironing things out and trying to improve my process. Thank you for the comments. Keep them coming. I'll pick out 1 or 2 each episode. Every comment you leave, positive review, like, subscription, or recommendation makes a difference. It ultimately keeps this alive, and I really appreciate it. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you next session.